Being an artist is hard. We see beautiful videos and photos of other artists making beautiful art and beautiful studios, talking about their work and their practice, and it looks so amazing. And then we feel bad that we aren't there yet. We aren't good enough. We can be our own worst enemies, and we compare ourselves to others and wonder why we aren't doing what they're doing yet. And we feel like we're too slow, too old, too untalented. You know, we blame it on things like not being able to afford good quality art supplies like they have, or that we don't have a dedicated studio space, so we can't really be an artist if we don't have a space to create in. And it can be really frustrating when you don't feel like you're making any progress, even if you're creating every day. And maybe you don't create because the fear of making bad art is holding you back, and you think, what's the point? Because I'm just going to make crappy art and I'm not good at it. So what's the point of even trying? Raise your hand if you've been there, because I know I have. And I mean, it's been over a month since I've made a video. So because I was afraid of all these things as well. So I'm right there with you. And I'm sure everyone's felt like this. And it's not just the fear of making bad art and not being good enough, but there's so many different parts to, being an artist and being creative. And one of them is like finding your style. Like, how do you find your style? That's so hard to navigate. Like that can take years in itself to figure out what is your style. Like, who am I as an artist? What do I like to do? What do I want to be known for? I mean, if you do share your art, maybe art is just something you do for yourself, and that's amazing. But a lot of artists want to show their work, or, so you worry about, what is my art style? And then you worry about copying other artists, but you're inspired by all things visual, everything that you see. So how does that not influence you in your work? You want to make sure that you're doing something original and unique to you, but then you feel like everything's already been done. So how do you come up with anything unique that no one else is doing? Or you see other artists doing stuff that you really love, and you're like, well, I wish I could do things like they do, but you can't copy their style. So how can I do something just as amazing but different? So it all gets very kind of scary and convoluted and stressful, because you want to practice and learn from other people, but you also don't want to copy their stuff, and you want to do something that just feels like your own style, but you worry that it's all been done before, so you don't know if you'll even ever find your style, because maybe you're still continuing to learn from other people and, learning how they're doing stuff. But it's great to learn from other artists and learn how they're doing things. But then, how do you make that your own? It's one thing also if you make art just to have fun and express your creativity, and there's no pressure in it. But when you want to make a living as an artist, then all those worries are magnified. They become even bigger issues sometimes, and there's a lot more stuff that comes along with that. And you feel like you need to figure it out all at once. Depending on the kind of art that you make or the specific niche that you're in, you also have to become skilled at many more things than art itself, like programs, systems, networking, social media, like all those things. It can be so overwhelming. Art can be overwhelming. Art can be scary, but the thing is, it's supposed to be fun. But I think there's hope. There's hope for all of us creatives. The good news is that you're not alone. Like, there is a whole community of fellow artists that get you and struggle with the same issues and fears. We can learn from each other and support each other on our journey. There's lots of things you can do, like you can join Facebook groups, memberships, Patreons. You can just watch YouTube channels of other artists that are talking about their experiences and journeys. Like there's so many ways to connect. Like there's a beautiful art community in like around the world. And I mean, you can find people locally, I'm sure, in your neighborhoods, but you can also go online and connect with people from different countries and different places doing different kinds of art. There's so many ways to connect. And even if you're an introvert, like many of us are, you don't have to participate in anything. You can just observe and watch and feel connected in that way. Feel like you can find other people that are talking about things that you're feeling or that you're experiencing and going through, and then know that you're not alone, that there's other people going through what you're going through and struggling with what you're struggling with. And you can be inspired by the beautiful art that other people make, and that's a great way to keep you motivated and get through it when you're in the hard times. And the other good thing is that as mean as we can be to ourselves, we can also turn that around and be our own biggest cheerleaders. We can learn to do that, just as we can learn to be down on ourselves. We can learn to pat ourselves on the back as well. So by watching and listening to other artists overcome their fears and challenges, we can learn how to be kinder to ourselves on our own journey. We can give ourselves the grace to learn at our own pace, to not be perfect, to take it slow, to remember that it's supposed to bring joy to our life, not fear and stress. We can remember that it's okay to be messy and imperfect and ugly. And sometimes that's where the most beautiful things come from, when you just get right down deep in it and make crappy art and experiment and get super messy. And the next thing you know, you've learned a few things that are helping you to create some beautiful pieces of art. And I promise you that if you do art for any period of time, you will look back and see progress, whether it's a few weeks, a few months, a few years. You will make art that you love and art that you hate, and that's a given. But it's all a journey and a process that you can't really shortcut, and you have to just dive in and go right through it. And just start with what you have. And you can slowly build up your art supplies. You don't have to have the best of the best right away. Like, just start with what you have. I've seen some beautiful work done with a ballpoint pen and some lined paper. They can be as simple as you want to make it. Like, grab what you have in your house and start there. Like, that's where it all starts. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go out and spend a fortune on art supplies and materials and, pens and brushes that the professionals are using. You're not there yet. You don't need to put that kind of pressure on yourself. Just start with what you have and just slowly add to it and work your way up. And you also don't have to feel like you have to pick one kind of art style or medium to work in right away. This stuff takes time. It can take a lifetime. Some people fall in love with one medium and they become experts in that, and they just dive right in and are consumed by like one type of medium, say like a watercolor or acrylic or colored pencils, whatever medium, and they just find something and they love it and they stick with it. But if you're like me, like you want to try all the paints and all the pens, pencils, pastels, anything else that you've seen others use, you want to try it all. And it can get overwhelming because there's so much fun art supplies out there to use. And I want to try it all. I don't want to just be stuck with one thing. And even though I want to do art for a living as a full-time artist, I still don't want to be pigeonholed into one type of art. I want to have a few different styles and mediums that I'm comfortable working in, that I can, mix and match. And depending on what it is I'm doing, I can pull out what makes the most sense for me. I like to paint really realistic, and that's what I'm drawn to, but I'm also so obsessed with learning to make abstract and expressive art. It's so much harder than it looks, and I've really been challenging myself to try to do more of that, but it's a challenge that I'm working on. Like, that's one thing that I'm constantly trying new ways of drawing things and trying not to be realistic. And I keep coming back to realism sometimes, but I mean, if I wanted a photograph, then I would take a photograph. So that's why I like to try to make things that are not realistic looking, that are more expressive. And those are my challenges. That's what I'm working with. You might have totally different challenges that you're trying to overcome. But you do whatever feels good to you. We're all in a different path, a different journey, and we're all going to be in a unique situation. So I'm still learning my style, what mediums I like to work in, and I'm still all over the place, and I probably always will be. And also lately I've been obsessed with digital art on my iPad with Procreate. Like, that is a whole new world in itself. And I love it. I've been spending hours every night. That's something I can sit on the couch with late at night when I'm tired and still make art. And I love it. I'm going to be continuing to work on that. But just remember, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a very long marathon that never actually ends. No, it's a lifetime journey. And you never want to stop learning and experimenting and exploring new styles and mediums. You just never know what you're going to discover or fall in love with. And remember that all artists you see in social media or anywhere else, that they all started where you are, and it took them time and patience and practice to get where they are. So enjoy the process. Remember that it's okay to go slow, and feel good about your art journey and all of the bad art that you make. It's only by making bad art that the beauty can be found. So I hope you are enjoying your art journey and finding some peace in the process. And until next time, just keep creating.